On our wedding anniversary, husband brought his pregnant mistress home and demanded I divorce him. Watching husband and Dolores hovering protectively around the mistress, I smiled coldly and tucked Shane's medical report proving infertility out of sight. Sis, Shane and I are true love, we even have a child. Why cling to a man who doesn't love you? Vivian stroked her nearly 5-month baby bump, radiant, and nestled against Shane with that sweet, helpless femininity I could never pull off in a million years. Vivian worked at Sterling too. I'd hired her 6 months ago, pitying Shane's workload and wanting an assistant to lighten his stress. Who knew she'd end up lightening his pants instead? Exactly, you squatter who can't deliver. We've fed and housed you for years, only to find you're a barren hen. Move it, step aside for someone who can. Terrified I might lunge at Vivian, Dolores planted herself between us like a squawking hen. Shane and I had been married 5 years without a child. We'd skipped premarital checkups in our rush to wed, so only today did I learn why. If Sterling hadn't mandated full physicals, I'd still be blaming myself. Because I'm 3 years older, Dolores disliked me from the start. Early on she merely nagged for grandkids, but after 2 barren years she dropped the act, sneering daily that I was a useless layer. I even overheard her urging Shane to dump me for someone younger. Back then Shane stood firm, telling Dolores that even if I truly were infertile, he'd never abandon me. I was the only woman he'd ever love. I actually melted, certain I'd picked the right man. This morning, holding the report, I'd wondered whether to spare his pride and claim the flaw was mine. I'd endured Dolores's scorn so long I was numb. As long as Shane loved me, I could stomach any grievance. I hadn't expected the slap of reality to land so fast. Maybe I should thank them for perfect timing. I stepped forward, Shane jerked Vivian behind him, eyes wary, while Dolores flapped her arms like a fighting rooster shielding her chick and the mistress. Their panic over the bastard in Vivian's belly almost made me laugh aloud. I dug my nails into my thigh to keep from giggling. Didn't you want divorce? I asked, settling onto the sofa with my purse. Inside lay both our physical reports, mine clean, Shane screaming infertility. I agree, on one condition, house and car stay with me, you walk away with nothing. On what grounds? Dolores shrieked, nearly levitating. My son made the down payment and the deed is solely in his name, forget it. True, Shane paid the down payment, but I've covered every mortgage installment since. My salary doubles his, and before marriage I'd already bought my condo outright. So when Dolores demanded I service the loan while the deed listed only Shane, I'd cheerfully agreed. I don't hanker after property, but no one screws me over. I pointed at Vivian. Because he cheated during our marriage, he's the guilty party. Accept my terms and I'll sign today. Refuse, and we can drag this out indefinitely, or let Riverdale Court decide. Dolores would never concede. Last year Warner was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, treating him bled the family coffers dry, and they'd already sold their country place. Warner died 3 months ago, leaving nothing but debt I paid off. I'd planned to keep that card hidden, corner a rat and it bites. Elena, you know without this roof my whole family lands on the street. You've got your own condo, yet you'd snatch ours? I never realized how vicious you are. Vicious? Shane, when you betrayed me and kept a mistress, did that feel vicious? If you could conceive, I wouldn't have done it. I'm only preserving the Warner family line, what's wrong with that? Why are men so arrogant? When problems arise, it's always the woman's fault, they're forever innocent. My father was the same, and so is Shane. I've stated my terms, think it over. Outside, my eyes finally burned. He was still the man I'd loved for years, until he marched Vivian through that door. I'd adored him. This morning I'd even baked a homemade cake, dreaming of a romantic 5th anniversary. The gift Shane delivered sure packs a punch. Elena? I was debating whether to head to my condo or mom's when someone called. I turned to see a vaguely familiar man jogging toward me. It took a second to place him. My college, Chase. Is it really you? Thought my eyes were tricking me. Why are you roaming the streets alone this late? Chase, weren't you overseas? What brings you here? Chase had been one of my closest colleges. He pursued me, but I turned him down. His parents were professors, he was brilliant, and junior year he won an exchange scholarship abroad. Rumor said he'd settled there for good. Compared with him, Shane was earth to his sky, yet love defies logic. I was young, worshipping pure romance like a brain-dead heroine. Now I know better. So that's how it is. I haven't seen you in ages, how have you been? And how's your wife? Chase gave a small laugh. Never married. Guess this is fate. Let me buy you a coffee? Although Chase and I were college buddies, he'd started school a year late, so he was actually 1 year older than me. We were both 32 now, and I was a little shocked he was still single. With a resume like his, there had to be plenty of good women interested. Still, it was his private business, curious as I was, it had nothing to do with me. But just as I started to refuse, he caught my wrist. Come on. We finally bump into each other, let's catch up. His palm was hot, being held like that made my heart skip. I quickly tugged free. Alright, I'll come. Just don't drag me. How had a few years abroad turned him so forward? He used to be shy. When he confessed back then, his whole face flushed. After I turned him down, he hid from me for more than a month, whether from heartbreak or embarrassment, I never knew. Inside the cafe, the moment we sat he slid a napkin across the table. If you want to cry, cry. Don't bottle it up, it'll wreck you. I knew I looked awful, Chase could read my mood. I didn't want to go back to Mom's and worry her, and he'd always been a good listener. After a pause I told him everything, how my husband, Shane, had cheated, and how Dolores had marched the pregnant mistress into our home to force my hand. Smack. Chase slammed the table. Scumbag. What are you going to do? He looked angrier than I felt. I gave a thin smile. Divorce is sure, I'm not keeping a tainted man. But I won't leave empty-handed. 5 years, emotionally, financially, I've invested too much. I won't be tossed aside like trash. Absolutely. Don't let that bastard off. Elena, what's your plan? I can help. A helper would be welcome, but should I drag Chase into this? Before I could answer he went on. Elena, I know you don't want to owe anyone. Let's trade favors, 1 for 1, fair? Fine. When we parted he suddenly hugged me. I started to push him away until I heard him say, don't be sad. You're amazing, Shane never deserved you. Someone better is coming. It was only comfort. I smiled and hugged back, maybe it was my imagination, but the instant I returned the embrace his body stiffened. I went to my condo. Inside was nothing but a bed and a sofa, I'd barely decorated because I never thought I'd actually live there alone. That night I couldn't stop the tears. From dating to marriage, 7 years of loving the same man. 7 years of youth and devotion, now ashes. Even though I'd fallen asleep after 2, my alarm had me up before 8. No breakfast to make for the family, I felt oddly unmoored. I gave a wry chuckle and dragged myself up. All right, Elena, enough brooding. Work matters most. I patted my cheeks, forced a smile, and left. At the gate I was about to grab breakfast when Fiona called. Fiona was my best, the lounge of the tea bar below Sterling where we'd met 9 years ago, right after I joined the firm. Hey, Elena, where are you? Sterling's imploding. Dolores is out front shrieking into a megaphone about you, get here now. They dared bring the circus to my office? When I arrived, Dolores was rolling on the pavement, feather duster in hand, lashing anyone who came close. A 60-year-old woman having a tantrum, no one wanted to manhandle her, so they just circled and stared. Somebody judge this. That little tramp can't pop out a baby, blames my son, cheats on him, and now wants a divorce to leave him with nothing. My boy pitied her being older, so he put the deed in her name alone, and this is how she repays our kindness. It's our only home. She's tossing us into the street. Have we no conscience left in this world? Me, cheat? Me, barren and blaming Shane? The deed in my name only? Dolores could flip black to white faster than a magician. First time I realized a human could be shameless to the marrow. Wow, didn't know Vance was like that. Come on, she's always nice. Ever heard of Two Faces? And look at the old lady, such tears, doesn't look fake. Yeah, who'd air dirty laundry unless they were cornered? Before I could speak, whispers whipped around me. The Sterling summoned me. Before I could explain, he said, Elena, your private life is none of my business, and I don't believe the rumors, but you saw the crowd. Even if you're innocent, Dolores just nuked our image. So you're firing me? Of course not. Still, damage control is required. Step back from the VP promotion. I'm giving you a month's leave, fix your family mess. Succeed, come back, fail, well, you understand. I understand. Thank you, CEO. That was Dolores and Shane's goal, my husband of 7 years, loving one day, lethal the next. Fine. Since he's heartless, so am I. I will make them regret the day they crossed me. The uproar reached Mom. The second I left the building, she rang. I went straight there. She hugged me the moment I stepped in and burst into tears. Why do life's lemons always aim straight at my mother and me? Exactly what I ask myself, why does rotten luck keep throwing us the same brand of cheating men? My father cheated on Mom, now my husband cheats on me. Do scumbags just queue up outside our door? Dad's affair began the year I turned 10. His excuse? Mom had failed to give him a son. The mistress he found did produce that coveted boy, only the baby was diagnosed with cancer before age 2 and died at 13. Dad's family burned through every dime fighting the disease, then the mistress ran off. Old acquaintances say my father now lives alone in a crumbling cottage, penniless and hungry. Pitiful? Please, he brewed that poison, now he can drink every drop. I told Chase I'm pursuing legal action and asked him to recommend a lawyer. Elena, you gather proof of Shane's cheating, I'll line up counsel. Oh, tomorrow noon my mother wants to meet you, are you free? The favor Chase needed was simple, pose as his girlfriend. He's 30-something with zero relationship history, and his mom is desperate for wedding bells. Rather than endure another blind date, he invented a girlfriend. Easy enough, so I said yes. I'm free. Should I meet you somewhere? I'll pick you up at 12. Done. The next day I was ready before noon. When Chase rang the bell, he had an enormous armful of roses. I didn't take them. Fake girlfriend, remember? Why waste the money? Consider it rehearsal. My mother's hawk eyes miss nothing. His warning made my pulse jump. I patted my chest. Relax, I won't wreck your act. Hand in hand we walked into the bistro, and his mother was already waiting. Mom, this is my girlfriend Elena, marketing director at Sterling. Good afternoon, ma'am. I offered the gift bag, but she ignored it, eyes narrowing. So you're Elena, Chase's girlfriend? The hostility was unmistakable, yet I kept my voice even. Yes, ma'am, I'm Chase's girlfriend. She sniffed. I hear you're still married and tangled in a divorce, true? So Chase had told her everything, no wonder the chill. I shot him a look, he answered with a reassuring nod. Mom, stop. Elena was my first love back in college. I already told you, she's the only woman I'll ever marry. Talk about laying it on thick, but miraculously she didn't explode. Instead she yanked the gift from my hand, glared at Chase, and muttered, "Fine, sit, both of you." Thanks to his smoothing, the meal stayed civil. Later, walking out, I scolded him. "Why hand your mom my whole resume? Come on, you think she wouldn't sniff out a lie? Riverdale gossip spreads faster than wildfire. I just needed to announce I'm off the dating market, she won't hassle you." "Whatever you say." I still can't fathom the nerve Shane had to sue me first, yet I opened the mailbox to a subpoena. Fine, let's see their circus. My evidence is sealed and labeled, and Chase has hooked me up with the sharpest lawyer in town. En route to Riverdale Court, Fiona pinged me a 30-minute video file. We reached the steps at the same moment as Shane and his mother. Dolores thrust her chin high. "Bitch, dream on if you think you'll snatch my son's house. Not 1 square foot, and half your paychecks for the past 5 years belong to us." I ignored her, turning to Shane. He looked me over with open disdain. "Mom's right, Elena. You seriously expect me to walk away with nothing? You cheated, Shane, fault's all yours. One sleazy lawyer won't rewrite that." "Cheated?" Reality check. You're the one banging your college sweetheart, making you the adulterer. Still rewriting history, pathetic. I stepped aside, phone to ear. "Attorney, where are you?" 5 minutes out. "Go ahead inside if you're there." "Got it." I left the 2 gargoyles on the steps and signed in at security. Inside the mediation room Dolores shouted, "My boy never strayed. That tramp seduced her lover and now cries wolf. We've got the proof, honey." While she held, Shane flashed a voice recorder at me, then slid it across to the mediator. The stylus hit play, and every syllable from my fake girlfriend lunch with Chase echoed out. "Listen up," Dolores crowed. She paraded her lover in front of his mother before divorcing my son, shameless. Taken alone, the clip definitely sounds incriminating. I stared at Shane, letting shock bloom on my face. "Where did you get that recording?" His answering smirk could have curdled milk, but he stayed silent. The mediator frowned. "Vance, do you acknowledge this conversation, and is the content accurate?" It was the truth, I couldn't deny it. I shut my eyes, nodded. "Yes, it happened, but I can explain. Chase asked me to pose as his fiancée so his mother would stop fixing him up. We've never had an improper relationship, he'll testify." "Hussy!" Dolores shrieked. "Of course your lover will lie for you." As if my son needs to frame anybody, Dolores hadn't finished her sentence when the mediator rapped on the table and ordered her to quiet down. He turned back to me. "Vance, you claim your husband is the one who cheated during the marriage. Do you have proof?" I looked toward my lawyer, about to speak, when he cut in. "I'm sorry, Vance, but I believe a person has to have a conscience. I can't stoop to fabricating evidence that your husband cheated. Here's the 50,000 you gave me, I'm returning it." My eyes widened. I stared at him in disbelief. "Attorney, you just said a person needs a conscience. Aren't you afraid karma will bite you for this?" "Vance, the law is fair and impartial. Stop struggling." He couldn't even meet my gaze, he looked away. "Mediator, this attorney was introduced by Chase. He knows every detail of my situation. Can I have him testify for me?" The 2 mediators huddled and whispered, then one said, "Certainly. You have 1 hour to get Harrington here. We'll recess for an hour. No shouting in the courthouse." The moment they left, Dolores smirked, gloating so hard it turned my stomach. I clenched my fists until the knuckles whitened, forced myself to breathe, then walked to the corner and called Chase. I told him everything that had happened in the mediation room. He soothed me for a long time and promised to arrive within the hour. Finally he said gently, "Elena, don't worry. I've got you." I murmured hung up, strode back to the attorney, and looked down at him. "Attorney, a person must keep a conscience. Once it rots, you're lower than an animal." As I spat the last sentence I glanced at Shane. For a second he flinched and looked away, but then he straightened, probably deciding he'd done nothing wrong. "Why stare at me? I never wanted it to come to this. You drove me. You can't give me a baby and you wanted to throw me and Mom out. You played dirty first, so don't blame me for hitting back." How righteous he sounded. I gave a cold laugh, shook my head, and walked off to sit alone. Chase arrived at the courthouse right on time. Without even texting me, he walked straight into the mediation room with the mediator. He sat beside me, clasped my hand, and whispered, "Alana, don't be scared. I'll protect you." His voice was low, yet in the hush everyone heard. Dolores let out a mocking cackle. "Shameless." I tugged my hand free and frowned at him. The mediator cleared his throat. "Harrington, what is your relationship with Vance?" I looked at Chase expectantly, hoping he'd set the record straight. Instead, he smiled at me and said, "Elena is my girlfriend, my first love from college. We were forced apart after graduation, but thankfully there's still time." "Chase, what nonsense. You told me to pretend to be your girlfriend just to fool your mom. How dare you lie about me? And you recommended this lawyer, why? Why destroy me?" I shot to my feet before he could finish, shouting. The mediator slammed the table. 1 against 4, I was clearly the underdog. Their eyes turned colder, impatient. "Vance, sit down. This is a courthouse. Control yourself. Alana, why deny it? You're capable, my family has money, and I know you and Dolores don't get along. But Shane's treated you well these years. You can't ruin him just because you hate his mother. I can't stomach helping you scheme against him." "Sorry." Listen to that heartfelt drivel, he almost had me believing I was the villain. When I stayed silent the mediator asked coolly, "Vance, do you have anything else to say?" "I do." I pulled out my phone, opened the clip Fiona had sent me earlier, and handed it over. "Mediator, what I want to say is all in this video. If you doubt its authenticity, have your tech staff verify it right now." For the sake of procedure the mediator said, "1 moment. I'll send it for authentication." "Little slut, what trick now?" Dolores hissed. She and the others had no idea what footage I'd just handed over, so they didn't dare act rashly. About 20 minutes later the mediator returned, nodded to his colleague, and announced, "The video is genuine. Let's all watch." It was surveillance footage showing 3 people, Shane, Chase, and Vivian, seated right beneath the green's camera. Picture was crisp, audio crystal clear. First to speak was Vivian, tugging Chase's arm and whining, "Cousin, I'm almost 6 months pregnant. If Elena won't divorce Shane soon, where am I supposed to have the baby? You have to help me." Chase looked annoyed but answered, "You know I despise that woman. What exactly do you want me to do?" "Cousin, that's why I came to you. Remember how she humiliated you in college, made you lose face in front of the entire college? Don't you want revenge?" "Yeah, cousin," Shane chimed in, "if you're game, I've got a way to make Elena cough up the house and every penny. A barren hen trying to make me walk away with nothing, fat chance." This is fake." Dolores shrieked before the clip had even run 30 seconds, lunging for the mediator's laptop. The mediator blocked her, shouting, "Control yourself. This is Riverdale Court. Keep it up and you'll be in handcuffs." I'd already watched the full footage on the way here. I'd never imagined Shane cursing me that viciously behind my back, me, the woman who washed and cooked for him every day. It was terrifying, and it chilled me to the bone. I'd actually told myself the $200,000 I'd paid to clear their debts was a write-off. After all, we'd once been husband and wife, and I didn't want to drive them to ruin. But now I understood, some creatures aren't human at all, they're animals, and they don't deserve an ounce of mercy. Both Shane and Chase stared at me in shock, two men who had sworn they loved me, yet at this moment they only turned my stomach. One more glance and I'd have vomited. Half an hour later the video ended, having laid bare every step of the scheme they and their attorney cooked up to destroy me. When the lights came on, all four of them, including the attorney, were slumped in their chairs like deflated balloons. The attorney broke the law he was paid to uphold and was sentenced. Dolores, Vivian, and the other two also received convictions, but because no serious harm had resulted they walked away with suspended sentences, no prison time. Shane, of course, had to walk away with nothing. The deed was mine, and every dollar they owed me had to be repaid. Once Sterling learned of Shane and Vivian's little circus, HR handed them both pink slips. The person I had to thank most for this outcome was Fiona. I invited her out to show my gratitude, only to find her looking anything but happy. I pressed her several times before she finally told me the truth. Turned out Chase had come back to the States 2 years earlier, and he and Fiona had known each other for about a year. Fiona had fallen for Chase, pursued him for more than 6 months, but he kept refusing. Only recently did she understand why. Back in college, when I turned Chase down, the rest of our classmates mocked him relentlessly. He'd been shy, socially awkward, the type kids love to pick on. That bullying was the real reason he'd left the country. From then on he'd carried a psychological block. Normal relationships with women felt impossible, so he'd never dated, let alone married. No wonder Vivian said Chase hated me, the grudge had fermented for a decade. Elena, I actually found out about their plan early on, but I couldn't decide whether to tell you, Fiona whispered. If I'd spoken up sooner, maybe Chase wouldn't have almost gone to jail. It's not your fault, Fiona. He's not worth a single tear. She gave a small smile and shook her head. I know. And even though I'm sorry for Chase, I don't regret it. We're best friends, best. Everyone saw how you treated Shane all those years. Anyone with a conscience couldn't watch them destroy you. Fiona, you're my best friend for life. I thought the curtain had finally fallen, until Dolores decided the show must go on. She showed up at Sterling every other day, wailing that I was a barren hen determined to wipe out the Warner family line. She wanted to cost me my job, but the CEO wasn't a fool. To protect the company's image, he transferred me out of headquarters, straight into the corner office of the Sterling branch as general manager. A promotion dressed as exile. Soon Vivian gave birth to a boy, and Dolores celebrated like the family line was saved, until the infant was diagnosed with early-stage lung cancer, courtesy of Vivian's non-stop smoking and drinking through pregnancy. The prognosis was good, but the surgery would be expensive. They'd already burned through tens of thousands before the baby turned a month old. I wonder if Dolores and Shane could still sing Happy Birthday. On the day of the 1-month party I arrived with my gift, Shane's medical report proving his infertility. I refused to carry that slander 1 minute longer. The world would know who was really shooting blanks. After moving out of my condo, the three of them had crammed into a cramped rental, rent paid by Chase, of course, and judging by the hotel banquet room, he'd footed that bill too. I'd barely stepped into the lobby when Dolores spotted me. She barreled over, shrieking, "You little bitch, daring to show your face? Get out, our family doesn't welcome you." Ignoring her, I looked straight at Shane. "Relax, I'll leave in a minute. First, a present." I pulled the infertility report from my purse and shoved it against his chest. "Shane, read it carefully. This is from the company physical 6 months ago. You're the sterile one. Doubt me? Go get retested, or take your son for a paternity swab. As your ex-wife, I'm just trying to save you from raising another man's child." I flung the paper in his face and walked out. Before I reached the curb, Dolores's curses and Shane's howls erupted behind me, music to my ears, but none of my business anymore. Although the branch office meant relocating, I flew back every weekend to stay with Mom, so gossip reached me promptly. Apparently Vivian and Dolores brawled daily. Vivian refused the DNA test, insisting the baby was Shane's. Meanwhile Shane, crushed by shame, got drunk and stumbled in front of a car, broken leg, now lounging in Riverdale. I toyed with visiting just to ask, regret everything yet? But gloating can backfire. If Dolores dragged her megaphone to my new office or harassed Mom, the mess would be mine again. Better to keep my distance. A year later Shane limped into the branch lobby and refused to leave until I saw him. Security escorted him to a conference room. The moment I entered he dropped to his knees. His leg had mostly healed, but he looked 20 years older, unkempt, haggard, defeated. Wife, I was wrong, forgive me. Let's remarry, please? Seriously? A psych eval felt overdue. Security. Get this lunatic out. From now on, bar him on sight. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping stories. See you next time.